a place where the Fed would pause. I think there's some potential upside risk to that if inflation does not behave. I think that number, and by the way, this is not a huge gamble on my part to say this is somewhere between 4.5% and 5%. But what's happened with this better than expected number, Melissa, is I think the possibility or the probability that the Fed goes above 5 starts to recede. I don't think you have much play on the short end or the near term part of the curve there. The idea that the Fed is going to 4.5, I think it's got a date with 4.5. It may have a date with 4.75, but better inflation numbers means that date with 5% is probably off.
Steve, it's Karen. So after last month, we had a very hawkish Jerome Powell and a very hawkish everyone else from the Fed. And now there seems to be just a little bit of daylight in between the hawks and Lael Brainerd, I guess. Do you think that that will change more? We'll get more rhetoric from the Fed prior to the next meeting?
Yeah, I do, but I think you want to be a little careful, Karen, not to misinterpret the rhetoric, at least, again, on the short end. That the differences between Fed officials I see as affecting where they're going to stop, not kind of getting there in the interim. I think 50 looks like a pretty good bet for the December meeting. And remember, that's a big rate hike, 50 basis points. I know you're kind of benumbed to it all, but at this point, 50 is still a big number. There might be another 25 on top of that, maybe another 50, another 25 after that. So it may be 100 and maybe 75 more. The issue is, do they stop, at 50 or they stop at 100? I think that's the difference between the Fed officials. Those differences should get a little bit bigger after when the new year starts. But remember, we used to have hawks and doves on the Fed. That's normal. That's normalization of the situation. Right now, the last several months, it's all been hawks. The question is, who's hawkier than the next? That's just not the case anymore. And I think we're going to start to see these differences start to become more prevalent.